Hi, and welcome to Say More, the podcast where we expand the conversation around what it means to be human. My name is Andy Spray, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Emily Lawyer, licensed professional counselor. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
How you doing?
Happy to be here. Excited for this episode today.
So we are answering your real questions, and while we're at it, we're creating a community. We hope you come along with us where we can grow together, learn how to connect more to ourselves in order to connect more to others and ultimately to God.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing here today.
Yes. And we have had so much fun so far.
Yes.
In this community, learning about our fellow humans, right?
I love to learn about a human.
And for this episode, we decided to do some crowdsourcing with a very specific question. And I'm excited to share the responses that we received. But before we get to that, I want to give you, Andy, the option to answer it first.
Okay, so you asked a question. I don't know. I've not looked at your answers.
Right.
I'm not part of your crowdsourcing.
Right.
But you have a question. Okay.
And we're going to hear from you first. Okay, here's the question. What's something beloved, cherished, or even weirdly random that's been passed down in your family?
Okay. So you mentioned this to me over the weekend, and I've been trying to think about what a good answer might be. And there's something that came to mind that is like, I always chalked it up to my dad being Italian.
Okay.
It could be, just generally people from the Northeast, I feel like, share this. But it's an affliction, a condition. I don't know what we're calling it, a quirk. But it's something I termed years ago as aggressive hospitality. Okay. So you go to a normal person's house. They ask you if you want something to drink. You say, no, thank you. I'm not thirsty. We're done. We move on.
Sure. You
walk into my parents' house. And they're going to make sure you're having a good time no matter if you like it or not, right? Okay. You walk in, you say, hey, you want wine? We got red, we got white. We get some red, you want some, what do you want for wine? No, thank you. I don't think I really want any wine. How about beer? You want a beer? Mary Ellen, get her a beer. You want a beer? Let's get a beer. No, thanks. I don't really prefer a beer right now. How about a soda? You want a Coke? You want a Sprite? You want a Diet Coke? I'm going to go get you a Diet Coke. You want it in a glass? You want it with ice? Okay. So you are the easiest course of action is just to accept a drink.
Just to accept
At some point along the way. We're making spaghetti. Do you want meatballs? No, thank you. I don't want any meatballs. Minimum 2 meatballs on your plate. Minimum. Okay. Because I'm going to make sure you're having a good time. You're eating well. You're having something to drink. Easiest course of action, just say fine.
I will
just say sure.
I have been on the receiving end of this aggressive hospitality.
You go to my sister's house, we got the bread. You got to get the cheese on the bread. Not like that. We're going to put the cheese on the bread. It's really good cheese. We bought it. You want a Negroni? Rob, make her a Negroni. No, thanks. I actually don't like Negronis. Yes, you do. Everybody likes Negronis. Have a Negroni.
It's true.
Right? Is this not true? So then I was thinking, did this pass to me? Did this wonderful affliction pass to my doors? And I go, when you're at my house, I'm sending you home with something.
Yeah.
You're getting a Tupperware full of food. You didn't want a Tupperware full? Sure you did.
Yeah.
Of course you did. You want to eat this tomorrow. This is going to be your lunch.
Yeah.
By the way, I put it in your bag when you weren't looking. You've got it. I just did this to you the other day. I sent you home with all the... I was like, no, we're not going to eat it. We wouldn't possibly. You eat it. Please. No, stop. No. I'm going to get a little bit rude in order to make sure you're well taken care of.
You're willing to risk that in order for the person to be well taken care of.
100%. You have a want or need at my house, look out. About a year ago, my brother and his wife came to visit. I do not have a guest room at my house, so I didn't tell them, but I set up my room like a guest room. The sheets, the towels, the little mini shampoos, the thing you put the luggage on. And so when they got there, I said, you guys are going to stay here. And they go, oh, no, we wouldn't want to do that. Yes, of course you would. Yeah. Of course you would. This is the best room in the house. Of course you would want to stay here. No, we don't really want to feel kind of uncomfortable kicking you out of your room. What do you mean? Matt loves sleeping on an air mattress. It's better for his back. He loves it. I love sleeping with the kids. It's fine. It's what we've always wanted. You're going to sleep here. We got into actually a fight.
A fight?
At one point, I blocked the door so that they couldn't move their luggage.
It turned physical.
And I want you to know I won because not only did they sleep there and have the greatest sleep, they went home and ordered the same mattress that I have.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, I told you. See? And I was like, you just listen to me and just do what I say because I'm going to make sure you're having a good time whether you wanted to or not.
Yes.
So I think what I really inherited was a lack of boundaries. I think that's actually what. But I'm just saying I married a nice boy from a nice Midwestern family. They don't do this. If you don't want meatballs, first of all, they've never served meatballs because, Midwest.
That's not what happens, right?
They just would say, okay. And then that would be the end of the discussion.
And it's been passed down through the generations.
100%.
100%. And it is beloved and cherished, even if it's a little bit aggressive.
Because you're going to have a good time.
You're going to have a good time.
You're going to come to one of our dinners. You're going to come to one of our parties. You're going to eat well. You're going to drink well. You're going to have had a good time. You might have walked in not wanting that, but that's what you're getting.
That's what you're getting.
And you're welcome, everybody.
Well, here's what I learned as I read through some of these other responses is...
Yeah, I want to know what other regular people are having to say about this.
Part of what we've explored so far in this podcast is what it means to be human is to grieve. Or what it means to be human is to lose your ever-loving mind during conflict, right? Here's what I learned as I've received these responses. Part of what it also means to be human is to be hospitable, is to be playful, is to be even a little bit silly.
Yeah.
Part of what it means to be human is to remember, to mark passages of time, to assign meaning to things. And that's all part of what it means to be human too. So you're going to hear all of that.
Okay, so I want to hear what people
responses.
you've been asking around, and I want to hear what people have to say.
Okay, we're going to start with this one. Someone wrote, my husband is the youngest of 5. And now all of his siblings are grown with children and grandchildren. So we're a big group when we gather together. One of my favorite things we all do when we're together is saying grace.
Okay.
Once we say amen,
very nice.
Right? Once we say amen, and yes, we all hold hands, we shout while we raise up our hands, shake a little love. His mom started it when they were young. She passed away in 1998, and we have kept the tradition going.
That's
so
very
meaningful,
sweet.
Right? And these are the kinds of things that get passed down.
I want to know what it's like, though.
families.
You marry into that family. What's your first dinner like? Like, why is somebody touching me? Why are we holding hands? Now we're shaking? What are we doing?
What are we doing?
That's very sweet.
All right. So now, some of these also include some colorful language.
Okay.
I'm going to read it as is because I think to edit it would take away a little of the humanity.
Okay.
All right. So this person wrote, my mom's side of the family makes cream cheese mince for all of our family functions.
I'm sorry.
Cream cheese mince. You wouldn't know this.
Mince?
Mince.
MINT?
It's usually butter and cream cheese and mint extract. I know this because this is a Midwestern thing.
Clearly.
She also writes they are definitely a love them or hate them kind of thing in the family.
I'm not judging. I've just never heard of that before.
Okay. So she said, it's such a big thing. We scour yard sales to find new rubber molds and make them in a ton of colors.
Shove the cream cheese in?
You make them in little molds.
This is just new. Okay.
We even had them at my wedding, she writes. Side note, when my cousin and I were younger, we'd mix some of each color to make brown and use the banana molds to make turds. To this day, you will always find one turd on the tray. And this person even included a picture for us and challenged us to find.
You know, as you were talking, I thought, this does not sound super appetizing. And then you got to the other part and it was like, well, they've found a way to make it.
Again, this is what it means to be human. Like I said, we're playful. We like to just do things that are a little bit random, fun, and then we assign meaning to it, and it becomes a family.
And now this is a family tradition
that gets passed down.
That one skipped our house.
Yes. Probably most people. This woman wrote, what has been passed down is 2 towels for every shower. One for the floor so you don't slip or fall, and one to dry off with. My son called me not too long ago to tell me that I've passed it on to the grandkids. They need 2 towels for every shower because that's what Mama does.
Oh.
So heartwarming, right? Someone wrote, my grandmother always told me that she had Daniel Boone's hatchet passed down from an ancestor.
Grandma lied.
She said that the handle had been replaced twice and the head once, but otherwise it was still in great shape. And he writes, the better lesson was that this or any ridiculous story could be told over and over with the same relish and joy that it was told the first time, and it would still make everyone laugh like little kids. What a gift.
Oh, these are very sweet.
So sweet. I can relate to that one a little bit.
I feel like my answer was not.
Well, this again, there's so much room for variance because these are things that get passed down in families. I mean, I relate to that one a little bit. My dad grew up in Africa, and there is a story about him playing with a cobra that has been passed down through the ages, and it gets embellished every time that it's told.
Yeah, we have some of those where it just gets bigger and wilder every time. Yeah,
family of raconteurs is a great gift. Someone wrote, my dad and his 4 sisters, my grandpa and my brother all have the initials KAL. So that's what got passed down.
Okay.
My dad and my grandpa were both Golden Glove boxers in their time. That got passed down. Someone wrote a recipe for picadillo from my aunt's Cuban-American college friend. So I like that one because it was a tradition from somebody else's family.
That you sort of adopted
that
and
you adopted
shared.
into your own family. Someone wrote, I have my great-grandmother's Springerly cookie rolling pin. She says Springerly cookies are a Swiss German type of biscuit made with powdered sugar and cake flour that take over 24 hours to make. They have intricate designs. I don't know for sure how many generations that rolling pin was passed down, but my great-grandmother was married in 1889. So likely she would have received something like that around then.
That's
and it's
very
been passed
sweet.
down through the ages.
Probably still works.
Still works for those Springerly cookies. Someone wrote, the birthday fairy comes the morning of each of our kids' birthdays. The birthday fairy brings little happy gifts, cupcakes or donuts, and the fairy comes for the last time on your 13th birthday.
No, because we do the birthday fairy at my house, and my kids are about to turn 13, and they're getting that birthday fairy.
It hits you right in the
No,
feels.
the birthday fairy continues. Don't stop at 13. We all need a birthday fairy.
So sweet. Several people submitted phrases that have been passed down.
Okay.
Someone said, my dad used to always sing On the Road Again every time we headed on vacation. This was from a proud Texan.
Okay.
My papa used to always say at the end of the night, well, it's time to piss on the fire and call in the dogs. So that phrase has been passed down through the ages. Saying, amen, Brother Ben, dig in before a meal. That's a phrase that's been passed down. Someone else said my mom had a saying, when times got rough, well, that's just another lump in the mashed potatoes of life.
Oh, I like that one.
Right? These bring comfort. They bring humor. This person wrote, my dad's mother, my Nana, had a 40 diamond cluster ring that she separated into 5 identical rings for her 5 granddaughters. And we all received them on our 15th birthday. Such a meaningful, tangible thing.
Sweet.
Here's one that really highlights our playfulness. With the windows down and excitement in the air, we let out a wild howl like a pack of wolves every time we drive through tunnels. It's a nostalgic ritual from my childhood, one I couldn't help but pass on to my kids. The joy is contagious. My husband and I still embrace the silliness. It's a delightful, meaningless tradition that brings us together and fills the car with laughter. It was unforgettable when we howled our way through the tunnels of the Italian Alps. They seemed to stretch on forever. It was pure, exhilarating fun, and I wouldn't trade those moments of howling with my family for anything.
That is very sweet.
Mm-hmm, right?
Very heartwarming.
Someone wrote, what's been passed down is a weird love of geography. You would not call that weird at all.
That is not weird, and I've also passed it down.
Yes, you have.
One of my children is a super geography kid.
Yes, a value for cultural diversity. We had several that holidays, people said they have a tradition at the Christmas gathering where you open your presents systematically, youngest to oldest. Someone said at Christmas time, we always do a scavenger hunt on Christmas Eve and then have a Yule log for dessert. And then I saved the most outrageous one for last.
Okay,
all
I
right,
want to hear it.
We've got one more.
Because so far, these are all very sweet and precious.
So sweet and precious. All right. In the early 1900s, when my great uncle was a small child, he swallowed a dime.
Okay.
Of course, they checked to make sure he passed it.
Okay.
He did. And it was a cherished possession of my grandmother's. Keep listening. We all remember her taking it out of her special jewelry box and saying, can you imagine that passed through your uncle? Of course, we still have it 120 years later. And we often tell the story to grands, great-grands,
Uncle's
and
colon dime.
Great-grands.
It's a treasured, family heirloom.
Family heirloom that has been passed down. Literally and figuratively.
Literally, and that one, it has passed. It has fully passed. Wow. I really honestly did not see that one coming.
Listen, some surprises in there, some meaningful moments. This is what we do in families.
I think this is really sweet, and I love to hear what's going on in people. I'm like, there's a little bit of voyeurism of like, I really love to know what's happening. My kids think this is weird. This is like actual voyeurism. But when daylight savings happens and it's dark outside, but people haven't closed their curtains yet and you're going on a walk, I just am so fascinated. What's going on in there? I just want to know. I'm not trying to find anything scandalous. What are you watching on TV? How did you set up your living room? What kind of, I don't know. I'm just curious about all the ways that these people are. So that was a really sweet little thing. And from that, let's go ahead and get into our questions.
Hey, Emily and Andy, can you say more about how to disciple kids?
Okay, so how do I disciple my kids? And I'm just going to give a quick definition of the word disciple. That's just something that gets passed down, hence the question that you were asking. Just something that gets down. In this case, in church circles, it's really something that you're intentionally wanting to pass down involving faith.
Right. And so often maybe you've heard people talk about passing down certain aspects of your faith through repeated exposure.
Right.
Reminders, similar to kind of what we just heard from some of these things that have been passed down in families. Maybe
just a phrase you've heard over and over again.
When it comes to faith, a scripture that you've heard over and over and over again. And I tell my child over and over again. Or maybe I've modeled something for my child over and over again. My child sees my rhythms of prayer or my rhythms of church attendance. Or maybe I've put my child in an environment so that repeated exposure can happen over and over. That certainly is one big way that we learn. And that is incredibly important when it comes to this discipleship process. What we've been doing in this podcast is taking a both and approach. So we're going to say yes to all that, and we're going to change the perspective a little bit, and we're going to look at how we learn from a slightly different angle.
Okay.
We're going to focus on how we learn things indirectly. And here's why we're going to take it from that approach. In the Christian tradition, we believe that we live out our faith relationally, right? Like we believe that God has invited us into a personal relationship.
Yeah.
So what comes into play when I'm talking about discipleship with my kids is how my child is learning to relate.
Okay.
This is a little different than teaching my child math facts or teaching my child how to ride a bike.
Right.
Because the Christian faith is not just about behavior replication. Now, when it comes to learning how to relate to someone, like I said, these things get written more indirectly. It's almost like it's caught more than taught.
All right.
So
I told you, I think therapy school is just learning how to rhyme. And but they're very catchy.
It sticks with you, right?
But
it sticks with you.
Yeah, it sticks with you. I don't mean that as an insult, but I do think this had to be at least 60% of your thesis work.
Otherwise, I didn't get my money's worth.
Yeah. So things that are caught more than taught.
More than taught.
Right.
You might even say it's inhaled more than explicitly directed or explicitly taught to me. So here's how this works. Starting at birth, okay, we all get a how to relate manual. And the way things get written into that how to relate manual is indirectly, meaning it's what I feel, what I experience when I'm in relationship with somebody else. Now, who are my very first teachers when it comes to that how to relate manual? My parents.
Right.
Or whoever is parenting me.
Yeah.
And again, things don't get written into that how to relate manual directly or explicitly stated. They get written into that manual experientially. What do I feel when I'm in relationship with that person?
So from day one, my eyes are
starting
open
at birth,
and I'm picking up how to relate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then it gets written into this how to relate manual. Literally into my nervous system. It becomes an embodied subconscious experience that I'm going to start living out of automatically. I'm not going to consciously choose to live out of my how to relate manual. It's going to happen subconsciously. And for that reason, that how to relate manual often ends up driving the bus when it comes to how I relate to God.
Okay. Well, so can you help me understand what's something that would be in, can you flesh out the How to Relate manual? What would be in there that would influence how we relate to God?
Yes. Okay. So we're going to camp out on one particular relational situation that has a powerful impact on those How to Relate manuals.
Okay.
Ready?
I feel like that one needs a catchier term, How to Relate manual.
Well, I
feel like take that one back up the chain and tell them at therapy school that one needs a catchier because it's not rolling off the tongue. Okay. The How to Relate manual, we're going to camp out at one spot.
At one particular relational situation. When we're in this situation, powerful messages are getting written onto our How to Relate manual.
Got it.
Drum roll. Here we go. Apologies. How did I experience apologies?
Okay. Did I experience apologies?
And that would be written into my How to Relate manual, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to pause for a second for a self-reflection break, all right? I want everybody listening to just do a quick check-in.
Okay.
Because anytime we start talking about parenting or how we've been parented, the potential for shame is really, really high. You might even find yourself already, here comes the shame.
Yeah.
Right? Also, what can tend to happen is we start to feel a little bit protective of our own families. It's sort of like, I can talk about my family, but when somebody else starts to talk about my family, no, I don't like that. So as you're even listening so far, you might notice some shame might be coming up. You might notice some defensiveness might start coming up. We're going to pause for a second and we're going to bring nothing but compassion to that, because we are not doing this for shame, for blame, for judgment. So you might ask, well, then Emily, why are we broaching this up? If there's so much of a risk of shame and defensiveness coming up, why would we broach this subject? Here's why. Because if we can face this from the front, there is massive potential on the other side for greater connection, for greater peace, for greater joy, for greater intimacy with God. So this episode is going to be a little bit like wrapping a pill in a piece of cheese.
Okay.
We're going to bring a lot of compassion. It's a hard concept. It's a complex concept. It's also a vitally important concept.
Is this only for people who have children?
No, because anybody listening is a kid.
Yeah.
Right? So you may be listening today through the lens more of parenting if you do have children. You're also going to be listening today through the lens of I was a child. I was a kid, and I have a How to Relate manual as well. Here's something that I have learned, and I have been privileged to work with people from age 8 to 85. Here's something that I've learned. None of us actually expect our parents to be perfect.
Okay.
We don't. What we long for at the deepest parts of ourselves is for our parents to own what was theirs to own. We long for those reestablished connections to happen. In the counseling world, we call that a repair.
Okay.
And to the deepest part of ourselves, we long for those repairs.
So when is it necessary?
When is a repair
necessary?
A repair necessary. Yeah. A repair is going to be necessary anytime there's a break in connection.
Okay.
So anytime there is a break in a safe, secure experience, again, we're going back to what I feel, right? A safe, secure experience of nurturing. Anytime there is a break in that, anytime the connection, the safe, secure, nurturing connection was there, and then it goes away, there's a repair needed.
Okay.
Now, even as I just said that, what comes to mind? Well, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
It
sounds
does.
like a Tuesday.
Right. It happens all the time. It might happen as a result of an innocent misunderstanding between me and my child.
Yeah.
It might happen as a result of I lose control of my emotions and I yell. Okay, safe, secure, nurturing connection, gone away. even momentarily, right? It might happen when I find myself defensive and I use biting sarcasm with my child.
I've never done that.
Right?
Not me.
It might happen when I find myself so overwhelmed and I just don't know what to do, so I shut down. Or maybe I leave the room without even explaining to my child what's happening inside of me. Anytime something like that happens, there's a break in the safe, secure, nurturing connection, and now there's a repair needed. Now, I'm going to give 2 examples of times when repairs are needed more frequently and more often.
Okay.
Bedtime is a big one.
Okay.
And dinner time is a big one. First of all, we're usually more tired at bedtime or at dinner time. So it's just a little bit more difficult to manage myself. And therefore, it's a little more likely that that connection is going to get disrupted. Let's paint a scene. Let's bring people in. Let's say you're putting your 5-year-old to bed. Everybody's tired. Maybe my 5-year-old has had something that's happened in their day, but they're 5 and they don't know how to name that to me. So they don't want to go to bed. They just want to spend more time with mom. They're delaying one more book. They're playing around. As mom, I desperately need to get to bed myself.
Yeah.
I can feel my temper starting to rise. It ends up just go to bed. I need you to lay down, go to bed. I turn off the light, I leave, and I close the door behind me.
Okay.
Okay.
But what if you ask nicely 16 times first?
This happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
Because we're humans.
Yeah.
And we have limits. Let's say that it's dinner time. Dad's making dinner. Dad's had a long day at work.
He served you more meatballs than you wanted.
He's aggressively served you more meatballs than you
Aggressively
wanted.
served you meatballs.
My 13-year-old son walks in, smells dinner and says, "Ew, I don't want that." It just comes out, right? Dad feels defensive. "I can't believe you're so ungrateful." My 13-year-old, "Why did you get so angry at me? I hate this place," runs to their room and closes the door behind them. So in those types of situations happen all the time. Now, what's the fallout of that? All right, let's go back to the bedtime example. I leave the room. My child is sitting in the room by themselves, probably feeling scared, maybe even a little confused, and they're feeling alone with that. My 13-year-old son, after the blow up during dinner time, same thing, feeling confused. I don't know why that just happened, feeling a little bit overwhelmed and alone. I've got 2 options in that moment. I can either get my child and their nervous system back to that safe, secure, nurturing connection. I can guide them to that through a repair.
Okay.
That's one option. I can initiate it and I can guide them back to that safe, secure experience within themselves through a repair.
Can I ignore it until there's 20 years of resentment built up?
You sure can. And pause there because we're going to bookmark that.
Right,
we're going to get to that.
Okay.
But yes, that's another option.
Okay.
I can leave my child to get back to that place of safety within themselves on their own. Now, if I let my child try to get back to that on their own, they're going to have to rely on the only coping mechanism that's available to them, and that is self-blame.
Okay.
Self-blame starts to sound like, I caused that to happen. I'm unlovable because I caused that to happen. I'm bad because I caused that to happen. My feelings don't matter. That's what self-blame says. And again, this is happening at a subconscious experiential level. And so that's going to get written into my how to relate manual.
Okay.
Those messages they're going to be felt at a experiential level and written into my how to relate manual. Now, if that is written into my manual as a child, here's how that plays out. It might sound like, well, here's the rule. When you enter into new relationships, approach that relationship believing that you're unlovable.
Okay.
Approach that relationship believing that you cause bad things to happen. and therefore you're unlovable. And that gets written into the How to Relate manual.
And just to take it back to our question, because I do know the intent of this question was from a faith and spiritual point of view. I know that that's what this person was asking specifically. So how does this connect with God? And can I bring it back to that for a second?
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and start to connect the dots there. Let's say that I have been explicitly stating to my child, telling my child over and over and over again, God loves you so much that he sent Jesus to die on the cross for you. You are so worth loving that Jesus died on the cross for you. And I'm telling my child that over and over and over again. But my child's How to Relate manual says, I'm unlovable. I cause bad things to happen. And so I'm not worth loving. Uh-oh, we got a mismatch.
Okay.
What is my child going to trust? Because that's what comes into play, right? In how I relate.
Probably what I feel and not what I've been told.
I'm going to trust the experiential every time.
So you're saying we're giving our kids, we're doing books with them, we're helping them memorize things, maybe we're singing songs with them about God's love.
Which is all good. That's one way that we learn, yes.
But at the end of the day, if that does not match what I have felt my whole life.
Correct.
Then what?
Then if that does not match up with what's in my, here's how I'm supposed to relate to other people, then I'm not going to be able to receive the love of Christ.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to trust the love of Christ. I'm not going to be able to take it in. This is so common. I might even, let's say I grow into adulthood and I really, really want to believe how much God loves me.
Yeah.
And I find myself, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
I want to believe
What's
this.
the disconnect? Why can't I go from what I'm hearing or what I'm being told on, to why is it not going to the next phase?
Why can I not believe this to the point where I feel it?
To where I feel it, to where it's transforming
me.
me.
It's transforming me from the inside out. I want this. What is going on?
And the disconnect is that far back.
Correct. And chances are it's probably a lot less about what you're not doing than it's about that mismatch that's happening in the subconscious How to Relate manual that is incongruent with what I'm being told.
Okay. So if this is, I'm going to say, if it's as common as you say, obviously it is. I'm a parent. I know how common these things are. I was also a child, so I know how common these things are. What do we do about that?
Yes. What
do we do?
What do we do?
You're just leaving us on this. So you've ruined your kid. I feel like I'm getting handed a pamphlet in the guidance counselor's office. So you've ruined your kid. Here you go. All those things, your VBS camps didn't matter. It's true. The goose has been cooked. The horse is out of the barn.
Right. All the shame is coming up. And again, we're going to bring nothing but compassion to what might be coming up for you. And just to rename, this is why we're facing it from the front.
Okay.
Because on the other side of this is so much hope, is so much potential for something to be different. So let's talk about, what does a sufficient repair look like?
Right.
All right. I don't think there's an actual formula. We tend to want a formula because that helps to manage our anxiety. I don't think there's an actual formula. There are a few components that if I can include those components in the repair, I'm going to give a little bit more of a sufficient connection reestablishment. The first thing is to just acknowledge what happened.
Okay.
It might sound like that didn't go well. I lost control of my emotions, and I apologize for that reaction.
Okay.
That wasn't your fault.
Okay.
So I'm just going to acknowledge what happened. I didn't manage myself. I said some things. My anger came out in a different way. I left the room without telling you what. I apologize for that reaction, and it wasn't your fault. Even just having that as part of the repair is going to do so much for my child's how to relate manual.
Just going in and acknowledging
Just
it.
initiating an acknowledgement of what happened. Yeah. Okay. Now, if I want to keep going, acknowledging what that was like for my child.
Okay. You must have felt
really scared.
Okay.
That must have felt really confusing for you. That must have felt overwhelming for you. And then you felt alone in it. And that must have been really hard. So I'm acknowledging what I've done. I'm acknowledging what that was like for my child. And then I'm going to offer some reassurance around how I'm hoping to keep that from happening again. I'm working hard on staying calm even when I feel frustrated.
Yeah.
I'm working on staying calm even when I feel overwhelmed.
Is there a point in which you say, and now you need to work on listening to me?
Yes, that absolutely.
When I ask you to go to bed.
Absolutely.
Okay. What does that look like?
Yes. And that
is that stage 2?
That absolutely.
Okay, that's advanced
that
level.
That is part of the learning process as well.
Okay.
But that's the kind of learning that's going to take place more, again, at the direct conscious level.
Okay.
So we want to reestablish safety and
Give the
security
safety first. That's what we're doing in the repair.
Absolutely.
And then when everybody's nervous systems are kind of chilled out, then we can talk.
Yes.
Hey, I also need you to not leave your shoes directly in front of the stairs for me to fall down and die.
In this family, we put things away after we use them. In this family, we speak to each other using kind words. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. That is part of the learning opportunity that's happening there.
So it's not just the parents' flagellation of I've ruined everything
No, not at all. And you might also be thinking as you're listening to this, well, is there a shelf life for this repair? Is there an expiration date for this repair? Here's also part of the hope. And we're learning more and more about this just through good research. The repair can take place even years after the disconnect has happened. And you don't even have to take my word for it. I'm going to invite everybody listening into a little bit of an exercise right now.
Okay.
I want you to think of a moment that you experienced with your own parents where that disconnect happened. The safe, secure, nurturing connection was there, and then something happened and it wasn't. It went away. Everybody is going to have a moment like that. Mm-hmm. I want you to let yourself kind of sit in that for a second, even if it happened 30 years ago. And then imagine if your parent came to you, even now, and said, I've been thinking about that time that I fill in the blank. I apologize for that. I'm really sorry about my reaction. That wasn't your fault. And I let you believe that it was. That must have felt scary for you. That must have felt confusing for you. And then you were alone with all that. And I'm really working to try to own those things more now than I have in the past. Okay, what just happened for you as you even heard me hypothetically going there? Something stirred. Now, you may have found yourself immediately trying to push that away because it hurt.
Yeah.
But something stirred. That desire for reestablished connection with our earliest caregivers, that desire for reestablished connection, it never goes away. That longing never goes away. Now, also there's hope in that the repair doesn't even have to take place with my parents. There are other avenues.
Right. What if my parents are gone? Right. What if my parents are not in a place where they're ever going to acknowledge that?
There are other people that can stand in for that. So I might be able to do that type of repair work with a therapist.
Okay.
Or I might be able to do that type of repair work with pastoral care or a group experience or a spouse or a partner. Any person that how to relate manual is coming into play, and there's an opportunity for a repair to be made.
Things can be rewritten?
Things can be rewritten.
Okay.
And then if that gets rewritten...
Then what?
Then now I'm going to show up differently in my relationship with God.
Okay.
And that at that point, I have a greater capacity to be able to take in the love of Christ. I have a greater capacity to be able to trust these scriptures that I'm reading over and over and over again and hearing. It could even be a scripture that I learned in my youth, but it never was able to make its way into my felt sense until these repairs got made. now I can go back and revisit those verses that the Holy Spirit brings up through a completely different lens.
So it sounds like not only do I need to be making repairs with my children, I need to be seeking repairs with my parents? Is that my responsibility?
Well, the repair initiation is always the response of the person who is in power.
Okay.
So it's going to feel more sufficient and more reestablished if it is initiated by the parent.
Yeah.
There's room to be able to have that conversation. Ultimately, what we're looking for is if I was the one that somehow allowed this disconnect to happen, and it was my responsibility to keep that connection maintained.
Because I was the parent, I was the adult. Okay.
Right. Then it's my responsibility to initiate the repair.
So to bring it back to our question, would you say, how do we disciple our kids, or what's the best way to disciple our kids is ownership? What would you?
Ownership is huge. And again, it's a both and approach, right? Reminders are important. Letting my child see me in certain practices or living out
faith
certain
practices,
faith practices.
Okay. Worshiping, going to church, things like that. Okay.
Correct. Is absolutely important.
And
whatever is happening in this how to relate manual that is getting formed, again, indirectly, it's getting caught instead of explicitly taught. It's inhaled rather than explicitly communicated. I want both of those to be congruent so that my child can have the best chance to be able to experience that love of Christ in their faith journey.
And when I fail on a Tuesday, when I get in a fight with my kids about picking them up from school in the rain, which just happened, and then we have a fight, and then I go pick them up, and then they refuse to get in the car, and then I cry, and then we have. Well, then what? What do I do when I fail?
I've got a great opportunity to get really good at making a repair.
Yeah,
and I bring the compassion and the grace of Christ to myself first. And then I have an opportunity to get really good at making one of those comprehensive repairs.
Well, I'm already your friend in real life, so I have learned about repairs, and I make a lot of repairs because I make a lot of, what's the word, ruptures? I make a lot of ruptures.
Yes.
I'm rupturing left and right.
All of us, all the time.
And boy, my kids are feelers, so, they're going to let you know. And I think every kid lets you know one way or another. I think really, truly every kid lets you know. But that to approach it non-defensively, which is really the instinct of, but I was in the right and I was it and I'm but to approach it with self-reflection and then come and say, I felt triggered when you called and demanded this and I really got angry. And because of that, I yelled at you in a way that I shouldn't have yelled at you.
Yes. And that wasn't your fault.
Yeah, that wasn't your fault.
And that must have felt scary for you or confusing for you.
You must have felt really confused that came out of the blue.
Yes. And I am going to go to bed early tonight so that I can feel more rested tomorrow and try to keep that from happening as quickly as
I let myself get really hungry, and I'm not going to do that.
That's a big one.
And it's not, I'm sorry you felt that way.
Oh, right. Well, we could name some
ways
things,
that it's not.
Some things that a repair maybe doesn't sound like.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like, I'm sorry you felt that way.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like, I'm sorry, it's just that.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, but you made me. Right there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
It's just that, again, what we're looking for in the repair is for my child's how to relate manual to get a very, very clear felt sense experience of who's responsible for what. And the way I make that repair is going to allow that to happen a little more clearly. And then my child is going to be able to trust, in a relationship when this happens, I can trust that connection is going to be reestablished.
So I think we've all got some homework to do. I think we've got to go pay attention to our ruptures and really own our repairs. Specifically, if you are someone parenting children now, And if you are someone who has been parented, maybe do some
there might be some
reflecting and being open for some repairs there in the future. And I hope, as we kind of expand the idea of what it means to disciple your kids, we are kind of going home not with shame, but with just some heightened awareness of the subconscious things that we're actually discipling into our kids. The things we're passing down unintentionally that are fighting against the things that we are passing down intentionally.
Yes.
That's no easy task. No small order.
No.
So we got work to do.
Yeah.
And we hope you'll keep joining us as we keep working through it, and we show up, and it's going to be messy, and we're going to get it wrong, and we're going to keep showing up, and we're going to keep showing up with humor and love and joy as we do it.
It's part of the human experience.
Part of the human experience. And we hope you keep coming along with us. Ask your questions. Check out the show notes for additional information. You can text us. You can email us, all the things, and we want to hear from you. So we hope to see you next time.